Looking for underrated survival movies and series that will keep you on the edge of your seat? This list features hidden survival gems full of action, suspense, and dramatic stories of endurance. From post-apocalyptic worlds to real-life survival thrillers, these titles will blow your mind. If you love intense survival movies, this is for you. The Decline. An isolated survival camp deep in the Canadian wilderness becomes a death trap for a group of students who were supposed to learn how to survive in extreme conditions. Under the tutelage of a charismatic instructor, they were preparing for a global crisis, but they didn't expect the real danger to come from their own surroundings. When one of them dies in a tragic accident, paranoia and fear begin to take over. The rules of survival that were supposed to protect them become weapons in the hands of those who are willing to do anything to survive. The camp turns into a battlefield where there are no longer friends. There are only hunters and victims. As some try to escape, others hunt, and the forest hides more dangers than they could have imagined. The game is no longer about surviving the apocalypse, but escaping from a man who has become worse than any disaster. Yellowjackets. They were young, talented, and had a great future ahead of them. The high school soccer team flew to the championship, but their plane never made it there. A crash in the heart of the Canadian wilderness turned their dreams into a nightmare. A desperate struggle for survival begins, not only against hunger and cold, but also against the darkness that grows in their own minds. The rules of morality disappear, and something primal and terrifying begins to sprout in the shadows of the trees. Rituals, secrets, lust for power. The forest changes them forever. Years later, the survivors try to return to a normal life, but the past does not let them rest. Someone, or something, reminds them that the nightmare never ended. The series shows how extreme conditions can bring people to the brink of humanity, creating a mix of survival, horror, thriller, and dark mystery. Oxygen, darkness, the chill, the alien sound of machinery. A woman wakes up in a sealed cryogenic chamber, all alone, with only fragments of memories. She doesn't know who she is, doesn't know why she ended up here. The air is running out, and the oxygen meter inexorably counts down the last minutes of her life. The voice of the artificial intelligence responds mechanically, giving no clear answers, and the reality around her begins to fall apart. Terror turns to panic. Panic turns to despair. Is this a punishment? An experiment? Or something much worse? Every breath brings her closer to death. Every scrap of recovered memory reveals a nightmare she would rather never know. She fights for each new moment, but the truth she discovers may prove more terrifying than suffocation itself. Meander. The metal walls pulsate with cold light, and the air is heavy with fear. The woman opens her eyes and immediately feels that something is wrong. She has no idea where she is or how she got here, but one thing is certain: she has to keep moving. The narrow tunnel she wakes up in is a death trap, part of a complex claustrophobic maze. Every step leads to another brutal ordeal: sudden walls clamping down on the body, flames bursting out of nowhere, mechanisms designed to tear apart those who are not fast enough. A strange device pulses on her wrist as if something, or someone, is controlling her movements. Is it an experiment? A torture? Or perhaps something much worse? Time is running out, and the answers hide in the darkness of the winding corridors that seem to live their own lives, ready to close around her forever. Survive. The plane crashes in the heart of an icy hell. Wild, unforgiving mountains surround the two survivors, leaving them at the mercy of cold and death. Jane, a young woman who already wanted to end her life, now has to fight for every breath. Next to her is Paul, mysterious, determined, but equally terrified. The freezing wind cuts the skin like blades, and their bodies grow weaker by the hour. Hunger and exhaustion turn reality into a nightmare with no room for error. Snowdrifts hide deadly traps. Darkness brings hallucinations. Jane's demons refuse to let her go. Every day is a brutal battle, not only with nature, but also with her own mind. How long can one run when death itself becomes a temptation?